residents at Grand Victorian of Rockford got into the holiday spirit Thursday afternoon with some carols of their own.
An in-house choir was formed by some of the residents, a first for the Living Center. The performance was part of the Grand Victorian's Christmas party Thursday, open to residents and their families as well as staff. Organizers say it helped them reminisce when they were children, singing Christmas carols as well as other holiday memories.
You know, a lot of times when you're in assisted living, you're not with your families. They could be in a different state or whatnot. It just brings back that hominess. What were your favorite meals? What were your favorite Christmas songs when your kids were little? And just brings back a lot of the tradition that they had.